rolling?
Rolling,
okay.
rolling,
Mike, you
rolling.
hold the world's fastest hands record for bare hands, 1,138 strokes. Can you explain the techniques you are using, and what is the premise behind doing it barehanded? Is it all from the wrist?
The premise behind me doing the speed thing with my bare hands is to promote the use of all the muscles in the arm. Being in the rock and roll world and doing pop records, you have to hit the drums harder than being a jazz drummer, which is how I started out. So I had to develop the technique, and I had to therefore isolate the muscles by using just my bare hand. And when I was in high school, I used to practice, you know, on my legs and on the desk, and I would put the palm down, because you can really feel it in the forearm, and I would keep the palm up, just like working with heel down and heel up. And by adding more strength at a lower height, I was able to use less energy when I put a stick in my hand. Because I can go faster with the sticks by using fingers, but with the wrist, there's no total finger usage. So it was just a means to strengthen it, and as a teacher, and I teach at Berkeley College now, it's a really helpful way to show people how to get the best of all the techniques. Because you have to use finesse, you gotta use your fingers to get all that nice strokes with the jazz playing. And in the rock and roll world, and playing with Steve Vai, I did 6 records with him, you have to move slightly fast to keep up with him. But you have to hit hard too, so that the transients created from the tip of the drumstick hitting the drum head, my grammar's awful. Anyway, you have to hit hard so it translates into the tape. And that's basically the premise behind that, and isolating each limb.
Okay, and you just said you teach at Berkeley, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I couldn't do that when I first started. It took a lot of work. Same premise with the feet, too.
Well, what teaching or educational aspects of the Drumometer do you find to be helpful in your teaching at Berkeley?
The aspects of the Drumometer that help me as a teacher, basically in the timing, and as far as the speed goes, I actually have to be really careful to not cross the line to decide what's right or wrong for somebody as a musician. A lot of drummers, look, it's fun to play fast, period. I mean, you can't make that judgment for anybody. And there's a whole wave of death metal drummers that are coming up. It's all about the speed, but that's musical. It's musical to those drummers that do that. And to call it something that it's not is retarded. I mean, basically, if you want to play fast, just learn it the right way. It's not my decision to tell somebody how to use it or not use it. But as a teacher, this helps promote stamina. And by putting it on 90 seconds and holding the tempo and doing it for about an hour, it promotes and helps those drummers get to the point where they get on stage and they don't get hurt. And they can relax the motion. Let me grab my sticks. They can relax the motion a little bit and not use, you know, or overuse muscles that you can do in the wrist, especially in the thumb. If you use the fingers, you know, you guys, Art knows, that creates a lot of tension up in here. But it helps to release the tension by using the bare hand. And like me, I actually didn't train my left hand too well with the finger, so I have to go back and retrain it like that to start. I haven't warmed, was that slow? I haven't warmed up. But you use all the techniques. I mean, what's the big deal, you know? Whatever. But the bare hand, that helped me a lot to relax and not hurt myself. And as a teacher, I'm responsible for these students. You know, I don't want them to get hurt, but I want them to be happy. It's not my place to tell them how to play fast and not play fast. Frankly, I've been to some of those death metal shows. I love the musicality of it. I don't like the lyrics. I still go to church on Sundays. I don't like hearing that stuff. But, you know, I appreciate it.
What's the key to playing
answer.
fast?
What?
What's the key to playing fast?
The key to playing fast is studying the physics of what speed is. Speed is a derivative. In mathematics, speed doesn't exist. It's the result of motion in time. So one way to handle it is to play slowly and get the technique correct, but who's to decide what the best technique is? We all use different techniques, and we have to learn from each other. That's the beauty of this. And all of us having a lot of mutual respect for how we do things. The other side of it is to work backwards. Humans are born with a motor twitch function, where you can just shake, you know? and do that. And I've had to teach some drummers to work backwards, where working slowly doesn't work because what we do fast isn't the same as what we do slow. In other words, if I'm playing slowly and I do that, you don't play fast like that. You play fast from a low height. There's no time. So what I find is that by teaching them to play slowly but from a low height, that gets them to learn the technique of speed, yet they can handle it. Me too. I mean, who am I? There's more speed out there, so I can't do. But practicing from a nice low height with whatever technique you're using. Sorry, I've been walking around all day, and that's too much wrist actually in that motion. But that's the technique behind it. Low height, and try to develop strength. And it's been working. These kids are coming in and like inside of like a year or two. It's like they're getting faster than I got in 10 years. But I grew up in the double bass in the 80s, which was all and you don't move your whole leg like that. And especially doing an R&B record or whatever, you really got to lay into the bass drum. Really got to hit it. But that's not what happens at the faster tempos, which is why all the death metal guys use triggers. And it's not cheating, it's just... If anyone in here can bang a drum from this far away that fast, my blessings to you, but I can't do it. I'm a human being. So why not trigger it, get a good sound, and not tell someone else what's right or wrong?
Hi, what new techniques are you working on or exercises?
New techniques?
Show me your techniques.
I'm working on the sass of the shoulder. Basically, I'm working on doing everything at the same time because as a working drummer, you never isolate one limb. You're one person with one brain, and the brain works much like a Pentium chip in a computer. You can't be in two places at once. It's impossible. So what has to happen is you have to learn to see your four limbs as one unit, and it takes an awful lot of time, weeks and months, to go through the combinations where you're lining up a right hand with the right foot, right hand with the left foot, and in between. Something like this, which uses 12 pairs. Pair 1, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1. So by training the whole body, a drummer can decide to put a tambourine on his left-hand side or a tom-tom on his left-hand side if he's a righty. You don't have to be fast with it. You just have to be able to hit it. And the bottom line, I believe, especially, again, teaching changed how I even thought, but the point is, I want to get an idea out of me. And sometimes those ideas require speed. Students, they want to get ideas out of themselves, so the best way to do it is to at least train them to think as one unit, and it takes a long time to develop the skills. And if some of those ideas require that you play fast, because it's fun and it sounds good, then you're going to have to do it a specific way, because if you do it the wrong way, you get hurt. I did. I mean, I didn't always attack this the right way. I had to study. So that's the basic take as to how to train the whole body.
Any other additional comments about the Drumometer and your record?
Yeah, hold on a minute. I use it for timing. Having played with Steve Vai for as long as I have, I rehearsed before even meeting him, okay? And when I heard Frank Zappa stuff for the first time, I understood that he was putting an amount of notes in a space, in a beat, that wasn't normal. That's 11. And he would just do this routinely, 11 and then 13 and then 17, and play 17 against like 3 notes. To some people, they might say, well, that's not music. Well, it is music if it's used right. You know, who's who to say? But that's what Steve did, that's what Frank did, so I learned that stuff. And the Drumometer, for example, the Drumometer, it helps me, like in 10 seconds, if I want to test that I'm doing 11s per second, it's not really fast, who cares? But the timing is tough to do, and this unit will tell me if I've done 110 hits in 10 seconds, if I've done my 11s properly. And I have a way of counting that, which I don't have to get into, because my issue is to discuss this unit right here and how I use this. I do count all my rhythms in binary code. I went to college for computer engineering, and I programmed for the Patriot missile system. It worked okay for the Scuds, but anyway, that's what I did for a living for a little while. And I had to program in binary code. And it taught me how to break down information. And for example, to do 11 in 10 seconds, or 11 per second, this thing just tells me whether I'm right or whether I'm not. That's it. And you get a feel for it. .109, I need another one. I must have slowed down. So obviously by me, my brain watching this, I wasn't focusing on just timing in an 11. So I wasn't very good at it. Who is the first time? Try it again. Hi. There it is. So 110. Thanks. But I mean, it served a musical purpose for me. I was working with Steve. Steve leaves a note, he leaves a B flat out of a scale or adds a note, and it's a musical thing. I mean, he writes all kinds of orchestral stuff around it, and sometimes leaving out a note or adding a note to a normal grouping is musical. And he does it, and for me to be on the other side of the glass when he says, all right, okay, look, I'm doing this run, this attitude song, he goes, that's a 13, and he'll be like, oh, I want to do it too, and just fit 13 notes. That might be overplaying, and he might say, no, don't play all those notes, but play, I'm hitting an A, and it's a really important note. I have to know how to hear 13 notes to hit the 6th one. And again, it just keeps me in check, and to do it for a minute. You know what I mean? To really get the exact amount of notes for a minute, it's a puzzle, it's a game, but I'd have fun throwing snowballs at telephone poles just for the game of it, so not everybody is into doing that kind of thing, but I am, and that's why I'm up here doing it. And for anyone that is, that's how I used it.
Do you want to mention your website and how kids can contact you?
Yes. My website is my name, MikeMangini.com, and it's being redone so that my schedule is going up and people can see me with Tribe of Judah. I'm in a band with some of the ex-Extreme members because I was in Extreme for a little while. And I do drum clinics all over the world. And those are really fun for me, especially when kids come, because it's not easy to get good information all the time. And again, even with the speed metal stuff, it's not my place to say certain things, but I just don't appreciate some of the lyrics, and if I had a son, I wouldn't want him listening to that. But I'll never forget, I was learning Led Zeppelin, and my father freaked out, banging on the ground, don't you ever play that again? I'm like, what, did you hear that, Phil? I didn't know any better, so in some cases I'm sure there's a relative interest and a relativity to it, but I'd rather be in a position to talk to somebody and maybe show them something, I don't know, with a good heart, and maybe try to stay away from that other stuff. But that's not my place, everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
You are welcome.
Can you do your bare hand?
Huh? Oh, you want to see?
Bare hand?
Oh, I couldn't possibly do a run right now.
Do a 10-second run for me.
10-second run? I haven't worked. All right.
For everybody here.
All right. $180.